ولا تجعلوا الله عرضة لأيمانكم أن تبروا وتتقوا وتصلحوا بين الناس والله سميع عليم.
Do not swear by Allah in your oaths if they are intended to hinder you from virtue, piety, and promoting the good of mankind. Surely Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Do not swear by Allah in your oaths if they are intended to hinder you from virtue, piety, and promoting the good of mankind. Authentic traditions indicate that if a person takes a vow and discovers later that righteousness and common good are best served by breaking that vow, then he should do so. Expiation consists in either feeding or providing clothes for 10 poor people, or setting free a slave, or fasting for 3 days.
لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما كسبت قلوبكم والله غفور حليم.
Allah will not take you to task for the oaths you utter in vain, but will certainly take you to task for the oaths you utter in earnest. Allah is all forgiving, all forbearing. Allah will not take you to task for the oaths you utter in vain. This refers to oaths which one utters either through habit or without any intent and purpose. The breach of such vows neither entails expiation nor makes man liable to God's reproach.
للذين يؤلون من نسائهم تربص 4 أشهر فإن فاءوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
For those who vow abstinence from their wives, there is a respite of 4 months. Then, if they go back on their vow, they will find that Allah is all forgiving, all compassionate. For those who vow abstinence from their wives, there is a respite of 4 months. In the legal terminology of Islam, this is known as ilah. It is obvious that harmony and cordiality do not always prevail in matrimonial life. There are occasions when strains and tensions develop, leading to discord and estrangement. But the law of God does not approve of that discord which causes a husband and wife who are legally tied to one another in matrimony to remain for all practical purposes alienated from one another, as if they had ceased to be spouses. For this kind of abnormal discord and estrangement, God has fixed a limit of 4 months during which the spouses are required either to settle their difference or to break the tie of wedlock so that each becomes free to contract marriage with someone with whom a harmonious matrimonial relationship appears more likely. Since the verse mentions taking a vow, the Hanafi and the Shafi jurists consider the injunction to be applicable only when a husband has taken a vow not to have sexual relations with his wife. According to them, the injunction does not apply if the husband merely forsakes sexual relations with his wife without taking any vow to that effect. The Maliki jurists are, however, of the opinion that irrespective of whether a person has taken a vow, the maximum permissible limit for abstaining from sexual relations in wedlock is 4 months. A statement to that effect is also attributed to Ahmed bin Hanbal. According to Ali ibn Abbas and Hassan al-Basri, this injunction is related to the cessation of sexual relations as a result of unpleasantness in the relationship of the spouses. It would not apply, however, if a husband were to decide to abandon sexual relations with his wife out of some beneficial consideration, say because the wife is breastfeeding at a time when their relationship was pleasant. According to other jurists, however, any vow which prevents sexual intercourse between a husband and wife is ilah and ought not to last longer than 4 months, irrespective of the state of the matrimonial relationship when it was taken. Then, if they go back on their vow, they will find that Allah is all forgiving, all compassionate. Some jurists have interpreted this verse to signify that if the spouses break their vow and re-establish sexual relations, they will not be liable to any expiation and will be pardoned by God gratuitously. However, the majority of jurists are of the opinion that they are required to expiate. The statement that God is oft forgiving and merciful does not mean that God has forgiven them. It means rather that God will accept their expiation and will forgive them for whatever excesses they may have committed against each other.
وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ.
And if they resolve on divorce, surely Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. And if they resolve on divorce, according to Uthman ibn Masud, Zayd ibn Thabit, and others, the limit for the restoration of matrimonial relations is 4 months. The mere termination of that period proves that the husband has decided to repudiate the marriage, and so divorce automatically ensues. It will be reckoned as an irrevocable bayin, repudiation. This means that separation between the spouses will come into force and the husband will not have the right to revoke it during the period of waiting, iddah. The two parties will, however, have the right to recontract marriage by mutual consent. Statements from Umar, Ali ibn Abbas, and also a statement from Ibn Umar have been reported in support of this doctrine and have been accepted by the Hanafi jurists as the basis of their doctrine. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, Makhul, Zuhri, and some other early jurists agree with this doctrine to the extent that divorce comes into force after 4 months. But they consider that the husband may revoke it during the period of waiting, and even after the lapse of that period, the spouses may recontract marriage by mutual consent. However, Aisha, Abu al-Darda, and the majority of the jurists of Medina are opposed to this opinion and hold that after 4 months, the matter should be placed before the court, when the judge will order the husband either to resume matrimonial relations with his wife or divorce her. Statements from Umar and Ali, as well as a statement from Ibn Umar, have come down in support of this doctrine. This opinion has been accepted by Malik and Shafi. Surely, Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. That is, if a man has abandoned his wife on unreasonable grounds, he should not feel secure from the wrath of God, for he is not unaware of the excesses that he may have committed.
والمطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن 3 قروء ولا يحل لهن أن يكتمن ما خلق الله في أرحامهن إن كن يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر وبعولتهن أحق بردهن في ذلك إن أرادوا إصلاحا ولهن مثل الذي عليهن بالمعروف وللرجال عليهن درجة والله عزيز حكيم.
Divorced women shall keep themselves in waiting for 3 menstrual courses, and it is unlawful for them, if they believe in Allah and the last day, to hide whatever Allah might have created in their wombs. Should their husbands desire reconciliation during this time, they are entitled to take them back into wedlock. In a fair manner, women have the same rights against their men as men have against them, but men have a degree above them. Allah is all-powerful, all-wise. Should their husbands desire reconciliation during this time, they are entitled to take them back into wedlock. Jurists disagree about the legal import of this verse. According to some, as long as a woman has not completed her 3rd menstrual period, repudiation will not have the effect of irrevocable divorce. This is the view of Abu Bakr, Umar, Ali ibn Abbas, Abu Musa al-Ashari, Ibn Masud, and several distinguished companions of the Prophet. This is also the accepted doctrine of the Hanafi jurists. On the other hand, another group of jurists is of the view that as soon as the 3rd monthly period of a woman begins, the husband ceases to have the right to revoke the divorce. This is the view of Aisha, Ibn Umar, and Zayd ibn Thabit, and has been accepted by the Shafi and Maliki jurists. Should be clear, however, that this injunction is applicable only when the husband has pronounced single or double divorce. In case of triple divorce, the husband ceases to have the right of revocation.
الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان ولا يحل لكم أن تأخذوا مما آتيتموهن شيئا إلا أن يخافا ألا يقيما حدود الله فإن خفتم ألا يقيما حدود الله فلا جناح عليهما فيما افتدت به تلك حدود الله فلا تعتدوها ومن يتعد حدود الله فأولئك هم الظالمون.
Divorce can be pronounced twice. Then either honorable retention or kindly release should follow. While dissolving the marriage tie, it is unlawful for you to take back anything of what you have given to your wives, unless both fear that they may not be able to keep within the bounds set by Allah. Then, if they fear that they might not be able to keep within the bounds set by Allah, there is no blame upon them for what the wife might give away of their property to become released from the marriage tie. These are the bounds set by Allah. Do not transgress them. Those of you who transgress the bounds set by Allah are indeed the wrongdoers. Divorce can be pronounced twice. Then either honorable retention or kindly release should follow. This little verse aims at the reform of a serious evil that was rampant in the social life in pre-Islamic Arabia. According to the customary law of Arabia, a person was entitled to pronounce any number of divorces upon his wife. As a result, divorce was resorted to at the least provocation and annoyance. In addition, the husband often exercised his right to revoke the divorce he had pronounced, with the result that the poor wife could neither live with him in happiness nor free herself to contract a fresh marriage with someone else. Here the Quran seeks to shut the door on this injustice. According to this verse, a man may pronounce a revocable divorce upon his wife not more than twice. Should he pronounce divorce for the third time after revoking it twice, the wife will be permanently alienated from him. The appropriate procedure for divorce, according to the Quran and Hadith, is that a person should pronounce one divorce outside the time of the wife's menstrual period. After the first divorce, he may pronounce a second in the next clear period if he wants to, though it is preferable that he should confine himself to pronouncing the first. In this case, the husband retains the right to revoke the divorce at any time before the lapse of the period of waiting. Even if the period of waiting has lapsed, the couple have the right to recontract the marriage by mutual consent. If the husband, however, pronounces divorce in his wife's third clear period, he has no right to revoke the divorce, and the spouses are not entitled to recontract the marriage. The pronouncing of triple divorce in one session is a highly sinful act according to the law, and the Prophet has strongly denounced it. It has even been established that Umar used to flog those who pronounced triple divorce in one session. Although this procedure of divorce is considered sinful, the founders of the 4 legal schools consider it to have legal effect, with the result that such divorce, in their view, becomes absolutely irrevocable. It is unlawful for you to take back anything of what you have given to your wives. This refers to the meher, bridal gift, and the jewelry, clothes, and so on which the husband offers as a gift to his wife, and to which he has no right of reclaim. It is indeed normally inconsistent with Islamic ethics that a person should reclaim anything he has made over to another by way of donation or gift. In the Hadith, this disgraceful act is likened to a dog licking its own vomit. In the case of a husband in particular, it is a matter of the utmost disgrace that, at the time of saying farewell to his divorced wife, he should try to dispossess her of what he had once given her out of his own goodwill. On the contrary, the morals that Islam seeks to cultivate require that at the time of parting, the husband ought to present her with a farewell gift. There is no blame upon them for what the wife might give away of their property to become released from the marriage tie. In the terminology of Islamic law, this is known as khul, i.e., a woman securing the annulment of her marriage through the payment of some compensation to her husband. Whatever settlement is made between a husband and wife should come into effect. If the matter is referred to the court, however, it will investigate only whether the wife has really become too disgusted with the husband to put up with him. Once this is determined, the court is entitled to fix the amount of payment incumbent on the wife as compensation for the repudiation of her marriage, and the husband will be bound to accept the amount and divorce his wife. In general, the jurists believe that the payment thus fixed should not be higher than the original meher paid by the husband. The divorce that comes into effect is irrevocable and brings separation into effect immediately. Since the woman has paid compensation, she is in effect purchased the right of repudiation, and the husband, therefore, has ceased to have the right to revoke the divorce. If, however, the spouses agree to recontract marriage, they may do so. According to the majority of jurists, the period of waiting under khul is the same as under divorce. However, there are several traditions in Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, etc., which show that the Prophet fixed the period of waiting at one menstrual period, and that Uthman applied this in a case which he decided.
فإن طلقها فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره فإن طلقها فلا جناح عليهما أن يتراجعا إن ظنا أن يقيما حدود الله وتلك حدود الله يبينها لقوم يعلمون.
Then, if he divorces her for the third time after pronouncing the divorce twice, she shall not be lawful to him unless she first takes another man for a husband, and he divorces her. There is no blame upon them if both of them return to one another thereafter, provided they think that they will be able to keep within the bounds set by Allah. These are the bounds of Allah, which He makes clear to a people who have knowledge of the consequences of violating those bounds. She shall not be lawful to him unless she first takes another man for a husband, and he divorces her. It is known from authentic traditions that it is totally illegitimate for a person to arrange the marriage of his divorced wife with someone else on the understanding that the latter will divorce her to make it possible for the former husband to recontract marriage with that woman. Such trickery would in fact be an act of sheer sexual corruption and would not render the woman liable to remarriage with her former husband. According to a tradition transmitted from Ali ibn Masud, Abu Huraira, and Uqba ibn Amir, the Prophet pronounced his curse on those who arrange as well as on those who agree to contract such fictitious marriages.
وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَمَا أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ يَعِظُكُمْ بِهِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ.
And so, when you divorce women and they reach the end of their waiting term, then either retain them in a fair manner or let them go in a fair manner. And do not retain them to their hurt or by way of transgression. Whosoever will do that will indeed wrong himself. Do not take the signs of Allah in jest, and remember Allah's favor upon you. He admonishes you to revere the book and the wisdom that He has sent down upon you. Fear Allah, and know well that Allah has full knowledge of everything. Whosoever will do that will indeed wrong himself. It is absolutely improper that a person should revoke the divorce he pronounced on his wife before the lapse of the period of waiting merely in order to use this revocation as a pretext to harass and torment her. God commands that if a person revokes the divorce, this decision should be prompted by a sincere desire to live together amicably. Should that intention be lacking, it is better to part company in a graceful manner. He admonishes you to revere the book and the wisdom that He has sent down upon you. Muslims should not forget that by teaching them the book and wisdom, God entrusted them with the glorious task of guiding the world. They should also not forget that they were appointed the community of the middle way and appointed as witnesses to good and righteousness. It does not become them, therefore, to indulge in sophistry and to play with the verses of the Book of God, to exploit the words of the law to their advantage in achieving ends counter to its spirit, and to slump into injustice and other evil behavior instead of directing the world to the right way.
وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُم بِالْمَعْرُوفِ ذلك يوعظ به من كان منكم يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ذلكم أزكى لكم وأطهر والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون.
When you divorce women and they have completed their waiting term, do not hinder them from marrying other men if they have agreed to this in a fair manner. That is an admonition to every one of you who believes in Allah and the last day. That is a cleaner and purer way for you, for Allah knows, whereas you do not know. If they have agreed to this in a fair manner, this is a directive to the relatives of the divorced woman. When a woman is divorced by her husband and he fails to revoke the divorce before the expiry of the waiting period, the relatives of the woman should not try to prevent the couple from remarrying if they agree to do so. This verse may also be interpreted to mean that if a divorced woman wants to contract marriage with someone other than her former husband after the expiry of the waiting period, the former husband should not obstruct this marriage by making malicious propaganda against the woman he has forsaken.
والوالدات يرضعن أولادهن حولين كاملين لمن أراد أن يتم الرضاعة وعلى المولود له رزقهن وكسوتهن بالمعروف لا تكلف نفس إلا وسعها لا تضار والدة بولدها ولا مولود له بولده وعلى الوارث مثل ذلك فإن أرادا فصالا عن تراض منهما وتشاور فلا جناح عليهما وإن أردتم أن تسترضعوا أولادكم فلا جناح عليكم إذا سلمتم ما آتيتم بالمعروف واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بما تعملون بصير.
If they, i.e. the fathers, wish that the period of suckling for their children be completed, mothers may suckle their children for 2 whole years. In such a case, it is incumbent upon him who has begotten the child to provide them, i.e. divorced women, their sustenance and clothing in a fair manner. But none shall be burdened with more than he is able to bear. Neither shall a mother suffer because of her child, nor shall the father be made to suffer because he has begotten him. The same duty towards the suckling mother rests upon the heir as upon him, i.e. the father. And if both the parents decide, by mutual consent and consultation, to wean the child, there is no blame on them. If you decide to have other women suckle your children, there is no blame upon you, provided you hand over its compensation in a fair manner. Fear Allah, and know well that Allah sees all that you do. Mothers may suckle their children for 2 whole years. This injunction applies to the condition where the couple have separated either because of divorce or kul, or fask, annulment, or tafriq, repudiation as a result of judicial decision, and the woman is nursing a child. The same duty toward the suckling mother rests upon the heir. That is, if the father dies, whoever replaces him as the guardian of the child will be responsible for filling this claim.